Hey y'all! I'm assuming most people who watch my videos are artists or interested in art in some kind, or know an artist. And if that's the case, then you absolutely understand the struggle of having art supplies that is really old. They aren't necessarily bad, they're just old because as you got older in your art progression, you got more and more stuff and more options and probably better quality stuff. And I got a brand new desk, which meant I completely rearranged my room to make room for it because it is a ginormous desk, right? And during this process, I found this little bucket that had all of my old art supplies in it. And today, we're gonna try to turn that into something usable for art. And just to give a little perspective, this stuff is from probably a few years after FNAF 4 released. I'm not gonna try to put a date on that like I know what it is, but just to give you like a little bit of a timeline of how old this stuff is. And the entire objective of this is to completely use up every last bit of sparable ink that these have. In one way or another, we don't waste art supplies here. My first step is to obtain the little bucket of discord that's been tearing up my little table. And by that I mean it's simply just been bothering me. Our first soldiers are the thin-tip sharpies, which I have arranged in color order, and I'm going to be moving my monster out of the way, just for safekeeping, changing the lighting out of just normal desk mode into something good, and then starting to make a nice little color palette of the colors that I have available. You could say that this is not exactly a traditionary palette. It's definitely something. I gave them all out a little test, and the entire name of this game is every time a marker dies, I throw it away. Hopefully by the end of this series, I will have nothing left in the bucket. And I can repurpose this bucket for whatever I want. Now, I'm just gonna give you a quick little, hoedown of what's going on in this drawing. So, if you paid attention to the palette, I don't exactly have any skin tones, which means that I'm probably gonna have to go with white, which is exactly what I did. The sad part about this is I don't even have a yellow. I can't even make like a sad little kindergarten drawing when it comes to yellow, because like sometimes you can really pull that off. I've seen people do it, but that's just not even an option for us. Surprisingly. So, we're gonna have to go with white for now. Another thing is that I didn't mean to make her look like the Joker. I see it. I see it now that I'm watching it back. I saw it as soon as I finished the drawing. And it stopped the recording. I promise you, I see the fact that she looks like the Joker. I didn't mean that to happen, but when in Rome, you never know. Maybe Joker just got a little too tipsy one night. You never know. He just grew extensions. That's how that works. Totally not a lot of work or anything, or money, or patience. But one thing that I realized after listening to this recording and speeding it up to actual speed is that this has some great ASMR. So let me just give you a little taste into what I mean by that. For those of you who have issue with this, I'll go ahead and put a timestamp for you. Go ahead and skip forward. Do you get it? Do you see what I mean? Maybe it's just my little artist monkey brain going, haha, that sounds nice. And maybe I'm just patting myself on the back, like subconsciously being like, you did that, you made that noise. But I choose to believe that it's just a nice sounding noise. I have no idea if I should keep these files or not, but I might just go to bed listening to my own files. This sounds so good. For no reason. Maybe I'm just the oddball here, but I choose to believe that listening to this is better than the female Joker on the page at the moment, so I'm just... let me have this. Speaking of which, I didn't realize until after I put the purple on that it didn't help at all. It didn't help her at all, in the slightest, actually. I realized that coloring in the hair meant that it made it look like the skin was white, which means clown makeup. Usually, that means clown makeup. And so I just don't... I don't know what I was thinking, and I apologize on my own past behalf. But it is what it is, and you know what? I'm happy with her. This next one is completely because I ignored pretty much every single red that I had readily available to me. Get it? Readily available. I really stuck with a lot of cooler colors, using every single, like, tealish green that I had to my availability. I used the gray, I used the blue, I used the purple. I even, like, snuck in a little of, like, the blue-gray and the baby blue. But I gave, like, absolutely zero attention to any of my reds, and I have 4 different types of warm colors, all in the same family, which make for an awesome palette. I prefer how this one turned out. This one, looking at it, makes me feel proud of how far that I've come as an artist. Going from, like, wishing I could draw something like this to drawing this in under an hour. I am very happy with how far this got. And this is not me trying to, like, be like, oh, I'm way better than anybody. No. I'm not. Promise me. Like, I promise me. I promise you and me. We're in this together. This promise, it's shared. But me, it's not. I really just wanted to have fun with this one and see where it went, so I just played around a lot. Played around with a lot of the shading and learned from my past mistakes of coloring in the hair, so we didn't have a repeat of that this time, but, you know, that's okay. Surprisingly, throughout this entire process, none of my markers died. Another reason for only using reds this time around, and maybe just a dash of our bluish teal, is because 2 of our markers bid me solidly adieu, which is perfectly fine because that soldier had been on the battlefield stationed for roughly 3 to 5 years, given that some of these are way older than others. Some of these are quote-unquote newer packs compared to others, so it just... I respect how far it came, and it was still able to make it through one last hurrah. I will say that I like this one better, again, for the consistency and shading. I hadn't drawn in a little bit. Finals have been whooping my ass. So, being able to draw for the first time and just have Joker Girl come out as silly as she did made me, like, actually evaluate before moving on to the next picture. I didn't, like, get it done, put a new paper down, and hit record again. I took a few hours away from the drawing, just being like, what? Why does she look like that, though? Why is she built like that? What are those? And I'm really glad that I did, because I really like how this one turned out, to the point where I might just hang it up. Again, like, if you're gonna be using pens or fine-tipped anything that is primarily pen functioning, I would stick with a more sketch-like, almost manga-looking shading style. Because if you don't, it's gonna end up looking like Joker Girl. I mean, hopefully you're not using green and purple, but if you are, good for you. I did end up adding some teal highlights, but just to give her a little pop. I felt like she was a little boring, and we can do better than that. We collectively as a whole. And with that little touch of the background, she is done. And with two of my oldest and best soldiers down and out for the count, it's time to bid this adieu. Here are the final pictures and the products, and I really hope that people like the change in pace. I'm really happy with the change in pace. I got a new desk, I got some good, a little better lighting, I got an actual mic. I'm trying to experiment and see, where I want this channel to go, and so far, I think I'm happy with just playing around like this. I'm starting to get back into the swing of content creation, however, I'm working on a big animation right now, especially with the drop of VR2, so while videos are going to be more sparse, I'm hoping to make them slightly better quality or slightly longer. Hopefully that's going to be a fair trade for people, but I will attempt to keep up with shorts. Since this entire thing is me just using up my markers, is there anything that anybody would want me to draw? I'm completely open to suggestions or trying out different styles or techniques with them, since these are just pretty much throwaway, try-out markers at this point.